When I started doing the electronics for the bed of the Gladiator, I told you we were going to go through several iterations, try different things, see what works and what doesn't. And we're going on what is essentially the 4th generation of the electronics. The first generation was just using power stations. The second generation was using the lifetime integrated DC-DC charger and MPPT controller. And while this worked fine for the DC to DC charging, meaning power coming from the alternator to charge the battery in the bed, that actually worked fine. The solar controller was limited. It would only accept an input of up to 30 volts. Well, the solar panels I have on top, which are Bouge RV bifacials, were putting out 37 volts. So it was causing this to fault, which, of course, I mean, it's over the spec. So I put in a voltage regulator, solved the problem, and this was working. The problem with the voltage regulator was every morning I had to go and turn it back on. As soon as there was no power coming from the solar panels, once it got dark, the voltage regulator turned off. As soon as it came back on, or as soon as the power came back on, there would be power there, but I had to turn it on for it to start working. So this was basically Gen 2, and it worked. And I'm probably going to use this. I may put this in our tribe trailer because it's a good little unit. And if you only have like a 200, 300 watt solar panel, this actually worked. The downside was there was no app to monitor it. So the only way I knew it was working was to check a smart battery or a shunt to see if things were working right. But other than that, for a low price, this thing worked pretty decent. Gen 3, which is what's currently in well, not exactly. So, okay, Gen 3, the attempt to do Gen 3 anyway, was to upgrade the MPPT controller to a lifetime 50 amp, which is working fine. Flawless. I have no problem with it. There's an app. There's some issues with the app, just some colors that make it hard to read, but it's working. As long as there's sunlight, there's power going into the bed. Then we're going to upgrade we needed a solution for the DC-DC charger, so we're going to go with the lifetime 60 amp DC-DC charger. This is where we started having problems, right? The instructions say to go from the output to the bed battery. Do that first, right? So I would connect it to the battery, and the fault light would come on. And I tried, I troubleshoot it, I did all kinds of stuff. I went back and forth with Lifetime, and they said, well, it's got to be a problem. We'll send you another one. No problem. It happens, right? And if anybody is going to get one of, the very few defective units that a company ships out, it's going to be me. So they sent me another one. So I take the output from here, connect it to the battery. Green light comes on. Sweet. We're in business. All right. What's next? We have to go from the input here to the alternator, or basically the starter battery in the front. As soon as I connect it, fault light comes on. Again, going back and forth with Lifetime. Eventually, they actually stopped responding. I had a trip coming up. I had to go to Baja, so I needed a solution. And while I have their MPPT controller for the solar panels in there working, I had to go to a Victron Orion 1400 just to get a DC-DC charger working temporarily. So, problem with that, you got different brands, you got a different battery, a different DC-DC controller, a different MPPT controller. So if you want to check everything, I'm having to check 3 different apps. Not a good solution for me. So we're getting ready for Gen 4. Hopefully the final entry into getting this thing dialed in 100%. And the meat of that is this guy. This is the Renogy 50 amp DC to DC battery charger with MPPT controller. So instead of an MPPT controller, which is about it's about this size, and a big charger, Renogy puts it all in this one box. 50 amps should be absolutely plenty. So this will be the heart of the system. It's got inputs for the solar panels, for going up to the front for the starter battery / alternator, and then output to the battery. Should work, right? And now I have my solar controller and my charger in one app, I mean. So that's going to solve that problem, all right? So that's two pieces that are going to come out of there. Next, I'll show you the next set of components we're putting in. Okay, now currently, for the last several generations in here, we've had the Lifetime 2000 watt inverter giving us AC power. Well, because we're taking that out because we're switching everything to Renogy. Just so we have one app to control everything. And with Renogy, we're doing the 2000 watt inverter, pure sine wave with a transfer switch. So what does that mean? Well, it's 2000 watts. That's good. Pure sine wave. I mean, don't buy an inverter unless it's pure sine wave. The Lifetime's pure sine wave. If it's not, you're going to have problems charging like drone batteries and laptops and stuff. It's going to be a problem. Transfer switch means it can actually be wired to AC. So let's say I had I had a cord coming out of here that I could plug into the wall. Well, then if I'm at a place like a campground or whatever that has power, I can plug into that shore power into here, and it will bypass the battery and come directly out. Okay, but if I'm sitting there at a campsite and there's a podium with power on it, I'm not sure why I need it to come through here. So, not going to use that. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a good use case for that, but for me, it's not. It's not like it goes in here and then you can charge the battery over, shore power. It doesn't work that way, but it does have this transfer switch. I'm not going to use it for that. But again, Bluetooth connectivity to the app, one app. Now I can control the DC-DC charger that has the built-in MPPT controller for the solar and the inverter. One more piece of electronics that I want to talk about that's going to complete the whole installation. Okay, we've covered the DC-DC charger component. We've covered the MPPT or solar controller component. Now we need to talk about the meat of it, and that's the battery. So, first gen of the dedicated system, not counting the power supplies that we used originally. First generation battery here was our Lifetime 200 amp hour automatic self-heating battery. So the good thing about this battery was it's not super heavy, it's just big. It's a big battery, and there's no Bluetooth with it. It's not a smart battery. So I had to add a battery monitor system to this, which was yet another app to look at to see if this thing was charging, discharging, what the voltage was and everything. But it was self-heating. So in the cold weather, it would heat up and make sure that it was operational. But it takes up a lot of space. So from there, our next iteration was, let me get this out of the way, the Watt Cycle LiFePO 4 314 amp hour Smart Edition Bluetooth Mini. A lot of stuff there, right? It's got a 200 amp BMS in it. It has Bluetooth capability in it, so I can monitor it. It has a lot of self-protection modes, under voltage, over voltage, under temperature, over temperature. A lot of stuff that will keep this thing working. And it has, and it's a lot of power. 314 amp hours is like 4,096 watt hours. That's a ton of power in a pretty small package. I mean, that is a really nice size for this much power. And this is not that expensive a battery. It's about a $500 battery. So more in the affordable range. What's not to like about it? It's not self-heating. So it really wouldn't start taking a charge until about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So when I'm in the mountains of Colorado in the winter, it's a small problem, right? I'm just not charging the battery. And it would go midday before it would get to be 40 degrees inside of here, and this thing would start taking a charge. There's no heating pads in this one. Now, I do believe now they have one that has that, but again, we're using the Watt Cycle app, Lifetime apps, just a number of different components to get everything working. Not ideal. So, while I like this battery, it's just not everything that I need. Oh. And we're talking about 57 pounds there. So let me get that one off the table. And we'll talk about this one. This is our replacement. This is the brand new Renogy semi-solid state lithium iron phosphate 240 amp Pro S1. This is pretty much the top of the line when it comes to what kind of batteries you can get to put in a rig like this. Now, I've done a complete video breakdown on this battery. I'll put a link above so you can go check that out and just learn more about the battery technology and chemistry in here. It's very easy to link this up to other batteries, to the Renogy core system. It's got a lot of features on it. This is a metal case, so it is a little more stout than the other one, but this is actually a pound less than the Watt Cycle battery. And it's basically the same footprint if I have this on its side. In this orientation, it is almost identical to the Watt Cycle battery and being a pound less. So that's nice. And it gives me recessed terminals, I guess, if you're into that. This being a semi-solid state battery, like I said, I'm not going to go into everything because that's all covered in my other video, but it uses a lot less liquid electrolyte inside. A lot of technical terms I'm probably going to throw at you here, but the advantages to this type of technology over a LiFePO4 battery is it doesn't develop dendrites as easily, so it's got a longer lifespan, where these other batteries are about 3,000 cycles before they're going to start showing a noticeable decline in how much capacity they have. This is 6,000 cycles, so it's double the lifespan of those other batteries. That's huge, especially when you're talking about a battery here that's about $1,000. So it's about twice the price of that battery, but it's twice the lifetime of that battery. Trade-offs, right? I can use the Renogy app, pull this app and see everything. So now all of my components are controlled with one app. That's huge. And this thing with 240 amp hours, that's plenty of power. I know that most of the people I go out with have about 200 amp hours and they never have any problems. This will give me 40 amp hours more than they have, so I should be in very good shape. So I'm not concerned about the amount of power this thing has. And it's gonna fit where the other battery fit. It's gonna save about a pound of weight, so that's kind of cool. And it is the latest and greatest technology. On top of that, this has a 7-year warranty. So not only should this thing last me, given how many times I charge it, this should last approximately 30 years. 30 years, and it should still be running at least 80%, 85% of its rated storage capacity. This will far outlive probably me, let alone the Gladiator. So that is off the charts. I mean, that is amazing how long this battery should last. I should never have to replace this. Will I replace it? Hopefully down the road, we'll go to a full solid state battery instead of a semi-solid state, which promises to be even smaller, lighter, and more dense, power dense. So that could save some weight. That would be the only reason I would see ever upgrading from this battery, is if another battery technology comes around that saves weight, because this thing is almost 60 pounds. So that's, you know, if I could shave half of that in there and have a 30-pound battery, that's a lot of weight savings. Other than that, I would have no reason to ever upgrade this battery. Not in this rig, that's for sure. So next project, getting all the other electronics out, getting all the Renogy stuff in, getting it hooked up, getting it dialed in, making sure it all works. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Today, I wanted to show you everything. It'll be the same video, so just stay tuned. We're gonna get to that in just a minute here and start getting the final, hopefully, the final phase of our electronics in the Gladiator wrapped up for good this time. Okay, it is install day. We're gonna pull out the remaining electronics that are in the back here and get them replaced with all the Renogy stuff. So, got kind of a little wiring mess in there. We're gonna try and clean that up along the way, but I'm gonna pull each thing out, tell you how it performed and what I think of it. And then we'll start getting all the new stuff put back in. Our first win that we're pulling out is our Watt Cycle 12 volt, 314 amp hour Smart Edition mini battery with a 200 amp BMS. A lot of stuff there. We showed this earlier in the video. This thing has performed great. It's got tons of power. It's got Bluetooth capability, so I can monitor it remotely and everything. My only issue with this was cold weather performance. It would show in the app that there was an error and all that, but then as soon as it got warm, it would start working, but it would have to get definitely warm. It would have to be closer to 40 degrees Fahrenheit before it would start taking a charge. So not ideal, but it did work, and it's a relatively affordable battery, especially for the capacity. But I'm still gonna call this a win because it's a lot of power in a small package at a decent price. Let's get to the next component. Our next item in our fail or pass test, I guess, is the Lifetime 60 amp hour MPPT solar charge controller. And it's supposed to take up to 48 volts. And it's worked. I haven't had what I would call any problem with it at all. However, with the previous system, I was getting up to 37, 38 volts on the solar panels, which is why I went to this. And this is rated for up to 48 volts. I never saw that come into this. So I thought that was kind of strange. I don't know if it's the solar controller is limiting the power input or whatever, but I never saw more than about 196 watts coming off the solar panel. But this did work. I didn't have any issues with it, but I never got close to 60 amps coming out of it. But it still worked. I'm still happy with it, and it did the job. So not going to complain too much about it. But when we look at this compared to what we're going to, I think you'll see a noticeable difference. So this is the Renogy 50 amp, and it not only replaces the DC-DC charger, it also replaces this whole MPPT controller. Now this was 60 amps, this is 50 amps, should still be plenty. I'm not too concerned about that, but we have a much smaller footprint to take care of both pieces instead of just one. So I think this is going to be a bigger win, but no problem with this. Let's get to the charger. Okay, well, the charger. This is the Victron Energy Orion XS 1400 DC-DC battery charger. Puts out 50 amps. Flawless. Totally flawless. Very simple. You got your in, your out, and a ground. So the ground goes to both the front battery and the house battery. The in comes in from the alternator. The out is positive to the house battery. Plugged it in. It worked. Never failed. Had zero issues with it. This guy is about, I want to say $335. I'll be selling this one, you know, like maybe $275 because it's only got a month of use on it. And yeah, zero issues. I'm able to monitor this with Bluetooth, IP65 rated, nice and small. I like that. So no complaints. Very happy with that. The other major component was the Lifetime 2000 watt inverter. And I mean, for the most part, this thing has worked fine. I haven't had any issues with it. There's no Bluetooth, so I can't monitor it remotely. There is a little screen that I have mounted up on the side, but it really doesn't give me any information of any value. It's just basically an on-off switch. And then I would just have a extension cord plugged into here that goes to an outlet on my box, so to provide power. So again, I don't have any real issue with this, but I want stuff that I can monitor all in one app and eventually with a little display. So that's going to come out and get replaced. But as far as an inverter goes, it worked. So basically the next step is just to get as many things pre-wired as I can. That way I just take them in there, hook up the wires, and we're good to go. So I'm going to be using the wires that came with each of the pieces because that's what it's rated for. If you noticed on the Lifetime inverter, it had, and I'm going to show you again. It had two smaller wires, but they're doubled up to effectively give you a thicker gauge wire. The Renogy just comes with a thicker gauge wire. So choose your poison, I guess. I think I'd much rather have this. It looks like it's going to be a little easier to work with. It is a very thick wire, so it's not ultra flexible. And it does have all this plastic on it that I gotta figure out how to get all off. And then we'll just get these wires bolted up, and this will just connect straight to the house battery. That's it. Negative to the negative on the battery, positive to the positive on the battery. And it uses 13 mil bolts over here. So we just that on there, bolt it down, put the cover back on, and then this is ready to attach to the battery. So pretty simple. There's no other connections on here for the electrical system, but on this side, we do have our AC outlet, which will connect to that outlet that I showed prior. We have an on, off, and remote, so that's going to switch to remote, and it has a remote control that will just wire right exactly where the other remote is. Pretty straightforward. And the one thing about different components, different companies and everything, they all have different ways of wiring things. And it'd be nice if there was just a standard. Like the original Lifetime controller was pre-wired with Anderson plugs. So you had to wire everything to fit with Anderson plugs. Then the next stuff had little pins that it would lock down on. The Renogy has regular terminals, so I got to put connectors on them. So before you start any project like this, you need to know exactly what type of things you're connecting to so that you have the right connectors handy. And that can be a challenge. I mean, every single thing from the Lifetime to the Victron, even the different models within the Lifetime line all have different ways of connecting things. So can be a small pain in the butt. I'm just saying. It absolutely can be frustrating. So I just need to finish figuring out how everything connects on here, and we'll get things up and running. So as I was taking this apart and working through stuff here, I was like, wait a minute, something doesn't seem right. On this side, I have solar input positive, alternator positive. There's no negative over here. On this side, we have the output positive and output negative. But it does appear that you just do all your grounds to this one spot to ground everything. So not much different than the Victron was, because it had a single ground. Just, again, one of those things you don't just assume. Make sure you read the manual so you know exactly what you're getting into. Okay, so I've got some of my pre-wiring done, as much as I can do at the moment anyway. Well, all the pre-wiring I can do at the moment. So what I have on this terminal, this is the solar power positive, which is going to here, and the negative going over to the common negative with an XT60, so I can just plug into a regular solar panel wire. I hate having connectors. I've just had problems with that, but this is one that I'm going to keep, because should I ever have a problem with the solar panels on top, or like when I go to Overland Expo in Flagstaff, I'm typically parked under trees. So I'll take portable solar panels so I can move them and make sure I get power. And this way I can just unplug my mains and plug into a portable solar panel bank. So that's why I do this. Then we have these two wires that are going to go to the house battery, and then this other terminal will go to the alternator positive, and also we'll plug it, the negative one will plug in over here. Then I can get all this buttoned back up and start making some progress. But so far so good. So next thing up is getting the battery put in there so I can start kind of putting things together. I got to get the alternator or the inverter wired up and all that stuff. So we're making some progress. We've got everything in there connected. It's a tighter fit with the length of the inverter is longer than the other one. So things are a little stacked, and I got to do some wire cleanup, but I'll show you what we've got. We've got the battery on the bottom, the inverter on the top, and the charger MPPT controller down on the side. And again, I'm going to get this all cleaned up because we're completely rewiring the whole thing. So we're going to run new wires, get rid of some connectors that keep failing and all that. So it is temporary, but it'll get everything working for now. And is it working? Well, yes. I've got the battery up here. I'm showing 131 watts of charging. Excellent. What I did not know was that charger and the charger solar controller combo thing there cannot connect to the app unless you buy a separate Bluetooth controller, a little module that plugs in. So I'm going to look into that. But for now, I can look at the battery and I can see that we're charging. So now I'm going to go turn the Jeep on, and hopefully we get power from the alternator. So I've started the engine, and it should take a little bit of time. It's not going to be instant that it comes on and starts showing charge from the alternator. The system's got to look at it, go, okay, is the voltage up? Is all that stuff. So hopefully here within the next few seconds, we're going to see it start spiking. Right now I'm getting 115 watts from solar, which is pretty good considering it's a fairly overcast day right now. But I'm still hoping that the alternator turns on and we start getting some power there. That would be handy. There it goes. Oh, wow. It just jumped to 403.35 watts, cut the charge time down to 4 hours. So things are working. Yay. Okay, so we know the wiring and the connections are all good. So I'm happy there. We've got the new battery. We've got new controller and everything. I am getting the Renogy ONE module, so I have kind of better visibility into everything. And I'm going to look into the Bluetooth module so I can look at the MPPT controller and see what's getting power from where. But right now, it's rocking and I'm happy. So this should be good to go. It's been a long time coming trying to get a proper electrical system in here, and now I have the components. They're all working. I shouldn't have any more problems. So but like I said, we are going to gut all the wires and redo everything and put in better circuit breakers and everything just to do things right. We're going to hide all the wires that if I see a wire somewhere, we're going to hide it. So that should be a big plus. So there we go. We've got power and things are looking good. Any questions, let me know and I'll try my best to answer them. There are discount codes in the description below. It is right now February of 26. In March, they're doing a huge sale. Some of the stuff is going to be like 30% off. So could be a really good time to get into a Renogy system if that's what you're looking to do. Check them out. Check out the links below.
2 weeks later.
It's been a couple weeks since we got the system installed and everything has been working great. I'm very, very happy with it. However, I am a stickler for data. I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to check on everything. I want to be able to monitor everything. And that's what was missing from this base install. So now there's two ways to solve that. You could use the BT2 Bluetooth module and plug that into the charger and then be able to see more of the information on your phone. Or, and the way I'm going to do it is with the Renogy Core 1. So this is going to give me two things. One, I get the Bluetooth. I can see everything on my phone, the battery, the charger, all the inverter, all that stuff. I can see it on my phone, but I can also see it on this display, which we're going to mount on the side. And if you're wondering, yes, it actually is snowing here in Colorado. It's been a long time coming, but I got to get this project done. So I got to be out here in the snow. Fortunately, I'm just going to be up inside. I got to drill a hole in the side of my box to mount this and to run the wires through, then attach a power cord from here to positive and negative inside, and then a communications cable, which is just a basic Ethernet Cat5 cable to go from here to the charger. With that, we should have everything working. So let's get to the install. Okay, we've got the Renogy ONE Core up and running here. I will say there was a small problem in getting this all set up. When I first plugged everything in here, it would see the charger and the inverter, but it would not see the Pro S1 battery. And I couldn't figure it out. I was able to do a direct connect on the app to the battery, but I couldn't connect it to the ONE Core. So I sent an email to customer service over at Renogy, and they very promptly replied. I didn't go through a connection that I have. I went through standard customer service and very prompt. So I'm very happy with the customer service I received. And they sent back an email detailing some steps to try. And what I had to do was make sure that the ONE Core was connected to my Wi-Fi. So I did that. And then I was able to go into the settings and find update. And I was on version 1.7, I believe. They wanted me to upgrade to 1.8. I did that. And when it came back up, boom, I was able to see the battery. So now I'll show you the app here. Whew. It's actually a little cold out here because it's still snowing. So here I've got the app up and running. I can see I've got 4 days of battery, which there's basically no draw on it at the moment. I mean, there's a very tiny draw from the electronics that are running in the system, but very, very little. I can go to the battery itself. I can see it's at 96%, 246 amp hour max capacity on a 240 amp battery. Pretty darn good. Something's pulling 2 amps at the moment. So, but like I said, I just got everything turned on. Stuff is powering back up in here. So getting that up and running, I can go to the charger. I can see all the status here. I have no solar input because it's snowing, so there's no solar input available at the moment, but everything is up and running. So I have 2 ways to monitor it. I can just look at the screen and see exactly what's going on, or I can pull up the app if I'm driving and I can see what's going on. So I'm very, very happy with how this is working. I just needed to upgrade the firmware on the ONE Core, and now we're rocking and rolling. So very, very happy with how everything's been performing to date and how well the customer service worked when I actually had a problem. So just need to button things up and we're ready for the next adventure. So hope you enjoyed this and see what I'm doing in here. If you're interested, be sure and check out Renogy. If it's still March of 2006, or 2026 when you're watching this, check out their specials that are going on right now. Some really, really good deals, especially on the battery. I mean, it's a couple $100 off right now, so it's a very good price. So until the next adventure, stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the trails.